The movement. The movement. The movement. The movement.
This is the movement. The movement. The movement.
Hey, welcome to the movement. I am your host, Catherine Warren, aka KittyRose. Today on the movement, we have with us two artists from the collective Unveiled Unlocked. And this year, Unveiled Unlocked participated in a project that was so emotional that we called it It's Just Human. So today I would like to welcome Miss Alethea Brown and Poet Bliss to talk about the It's Just Human project and how it affected us and what it's about, give more details to our public about, what the project is about. But we do this in a more comfortable environment. We do join our conversation and welcome Alethea and Bliss. Hey now.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you for having me.
So Alethea, It's Just Human. What does that mean and why?
Well, it started from a conversation, as you know, with us on the phone. It's Just Human is talking about love and shame. And what would it look like if those two emotions were something we embraced and something that we can actually examine and go a little deeper than the usual superficial or, so to speak, cleansing conversations that most people do in a group session. I wanted to explore it creatively, spiritually, emotionally. So It's Just Human is something that we also live through on our daily lives. So in explaining what would it be like to be just human, and I played off of the word just to kind of give that tongue-in-cheek around being human isn't just. Being human
Right.
isn't always just us.
Right.
And it isn't always justice. So what we do in Unveiled Unlocked with this project is we have a multidisciplinary layered experience around the arts, because that is what makes it more palatable to talk about the difficult things.
What do you mean through the arts? Because a lot of times people are not able to emerge. A lot of times people are not able to merge community and the art in a sense of healing or in a sense of making sense so that you can heal through the art. Sometimes we just look at art as mere entertainment or, something pretty to look at. So how are we able, where did the poetry come in aspect of it?
Well, all art is in dialogue in terms of how I view it. So when we think in terms of visual, performing arts, or any of the other layerings, it's always coming off of real life. Every poet is always talking about something they experienced. Every artist is always visually taking something from life and recording that in a way that becomes entertaining. So this is another layering of how we overlap real life into an art form, so it makes it more inviting for people to want to touch and engage in, because it's a heavy subject to talk about love or shame.
And it's also a way for the people who are not being heard to be heard, because if you look at, national media, global media, the things that we're talking about are not being discussed and not being addressed. And these are problems and issues and experiences that need to be talked about, because a lot of people are walking around feeling these things, but they don't have an outlet for it.
That's what I liked about the whole title, It's Just Human, because no matter who it is and what it is that we're going through, because people are not talking about it, they're detaching themselves from the fact that it's just human, whatever it is that we're facing and going through. As a poet, how were you able to see the vision that Alethea first, because describe how you came to enter involving poets in this performance?
So when I think in terms of how the layering goes, I always called even Bliss, I called him a verbal painter, because he's taking sound bites of things that you're emotionally experiencing but not being able to translate outward into a visual that you can connect to. That's why when we listen to love songs, we connect to them, because we can visualize and internalize the words, because they also draw a picture. So for me, it's always a dialogue dance to have poetry, visual art, and all of the other layerings of conversation is poetic. Conversation is artistic, because if you do it well, you keep people wanting to stay involved and intertwine their experiences with what you're talking about. So the art makes it palatable to want to have difficult conversations instead of going heavy in a way that you want to run or escape.
But talking about love and shame, how did you decide that you can make that lighter, especially involving a partner? This wasn't a poem that you had to do by yourself. You had to play off of someone else's thoughts.
Well, when you have a collaborative effort and you have a connection, it's not easy once you begin the process. The hardest part is to put the first word down, and once you start that, you build upon a foundation. And once you have a strong foundation, it wasn't difficult. It's difficult in the sense of whenever you write and express yourself as an artist, sometimes when you go into the real personal issue and your personal thoughts, it's not easy to release it to the world. But as an artist and as someone who cares about their community, I know that those conversations and those expressions, those forms of expressions are important because people need a choice. They have the mainstream media and they have the artists who go against the grain and say,
all
look, this is not the whole picture.
Right.
Well, I mean, even off of what you're saying, the conversation started from you and I just talking about me being frustrated, being on a subway, and the experiences of what I saw people doing, not engaging in a human exchange when they saw something horrible happening to some other passenger. So it is human to be removed sometimes from what you can't wrap your head around.
So how did the process go? Like, we started with this idea, you and your other half got together to do the piece, but then once our creative director came in to play and, we started rehearsing and we actually got to perform the piece during Harlem Week and, how did it evolve for you as the poet, and then how did it evolve for you as the creative director?
Well,
But as the poet, when you're given a task, Alethea gave me a task and I said, okay, I don't know where this is going, so I'll just focus on the piece. But as we got into the rehearsals and Aixa came and it became this whole production, and I was like, wow, this is amazing and this is beautiful at the same time.
What was amazing about it?
Just getting creative people working to a same rhythm, and that is challenging.
That was crazy. Yeah,
artists, we all are on our own ciphers, and to get us all together and with a common goal, that's beautiful.
That was beautiful.
But the thing is, too, what like a living work of art, what it culminates into is that each of us on the same subject have varied ideas from our own experiences personally, professionally. So what we're looking at with this is, we started out with the seed, and what planted and grew was all these other layerings, and they morphed until we had this crescendo. So it is still living and breathing because we have other layers of it that we haven't even uncovered.
Can we share any of those limits? Can we share any of those layers before we,
So
break?
what we wanted to do as the finale is have an art exhibition where we also had the poetry and the audience interacting with that as well. So that would be the next part of what we're doing, is finding a space, getting funding to put the next part of that onto it, and having the interactive piece go online so that we can have the world interact with the
Well, we kind of
conversations.
started some of that interactive piece by doing the new hashtag love and shame, and asking people actually on the street, what are their thoughts on love and shame. How has that been working with you guys individually?
Well, it's funny because it starts making me look at it in different layers at other venues and other places that I'm moving around, so that I can piece it back into what we initially did. We took Post-it notes and asked the public, if you had to choose to speak to the world that was listening to you, love or shame, which one would you choose and what would you say? And then we gave them the Post-it notes, and they held them up, we photographed them, and we started posting it on our Facebook and our social media. So what we're looking at doing now is the next layering of this on the creative end is putting it into a showcase and then still carrying the dialogue.
Cool beans. So I thank you guys for joining us on this segment of The Movement. You can follow Unveiled Unlocked on all social media platforms. Please join our conversation, join our journey. So once again, this is The Movement coming to you from the KittyRose LyfeStyle and your host, Catherine Warren. Stay tuned and also follow me in all social media platforms. I'm on everything: Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, under the KittyRose LyfeStyle. KittyRose LyfeStyle with a Y, not an I. I always say that. But anyway, thank you. And once again, this is The Movement.
This is
the movement. The movement.
Would you have loved me when being thick wasn't called thick? It was just fat. What if I wasn't a size 6? Would you love me when I was 6 sizes heavier 6 years ago? Would you love me for the reasons my mother couldn't? Would you love me for all the reasons my father left? Would you love me those nights when I lost my breath, lying on the floor filled with so much pain?
I could love you, but it takes a man 40 years to get over a broken heart. It takes a man 40 years with introverted tears to get over a broken heart. See, I've been scarred and insecure since head starts, when I was getting parts in my fade and cared more about impressing you than getting
I live in forever, resisting the programming, filtering the darkness, navigating the paradigm, landing barefoot on cold earth, longing for completion. Elysium, on the tips of our souls, dreaming in real time, hoping that ancestors will bring us back together, but only if there's still a chance for
Swaddled on the kufi and dashiki, nursed on the liberation flag, right hand resting on my heart, balled in a fist, I made you a knowledge of self. Consciousness rocked you to sleep. Dr. Ben, John Henrik Clark, and Khalid Muhammad, your lullabies. You know who we are. You know who I am. But I question.
Two of the most dangerous, careless words in the English language is love and shame.